What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to The Breakdown, the series where I analyze gameplay to help you improve. In today's episode, we're going to be analyzing a free-for-all gameplay on the map Solar from Avian Mojo. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so it's kind of strange we're doing a free-for-all gameplay. I've never actually analyzed a free-for-all gameplay before, and keep in mind, I'm not a really hardcore free-for-all player, so I don't know the game mode as well as some, but I am going to do my best to give the best advice possible throughout this gameplay. So let's start it off with the class that he decided to use. So we have the IMR with red dot and foregrip, then we have a stinger for a secondary. For perks we have low profile, blind eye, hardwired, and blast suppressor. For an exo ability we have exo stim. And for score streaks, we have Assault Drone with Rockets, XS1 Goliath, no modules on that. And then we have the Orbital Care Package, again with no modules on it. So what do I think about this class? Well, I think it's actually a pretty well set up class. It's nice to see an IMR, just something different. It's not a BAL, it's not an ASM1, it's not the HBRA Insanity or something. It's something different, and good attachment choice on this. He's got red dot and foregrip. For me personally, I like to run quick draw on all of my assault rifles. That's just my personal opinion, but this seems to work out for you all right, so if it's working for you, don't change it. For the secondary, we have the Stinger. Now, this is something I'm a little confused about with this class. Unless you're going for some sort of a challenge with the Stinger, like you're trying to get a certain amount of kills, score streak kills with it or something, it doesn't really seem like it fits on this class. Reason being, we have low profile as well as blind eye. You have no reason to be afraid of anything that's in the air. And in free-for-all, it's just kind of a waste of time for you to go around shooting things down, in my opinion anyways. I could be wrong on this, but that's my opinion. It feels like that's a waste of a point that you're using on that class, and that could be better spent elsewhere. As for perks, low profile and blind eye, both great choices for free-for-all. Also blast suppressor, excellent choice for any game mode aside from maybe the core game modes, and of course classic. One thing that I wanted to point out was you have hardwired. This one is still not a bad choice, especially if you do run into a lot of system hacks. I don't know what free-for-all is like as far as running into system hacks, but the lack of toughness is a little bit concerning, especially because in free-for-all, a lot of the times you find yourself in face-to-face gunfights. And that's really what a lot of the game mode is about. It's about winning those face-to-face gunfights. And toughness just makes it a little bit easier to win those face-to-face gunfights, so I would recommend toughness over hardwired, but it's still not a terrible choice to have hardwired here. For the exo ability, we have exo stim, and that seems like it would be an excellent choice for free-for-all because you can pretty much know when you're about to get into a gunfight, more or less, and you can just activate that, and it basically will get you a free kill. At least it'll give you a leg up in a gunfight, which is awesome. As for score streaks, there's really no problems with this. You can use whatever you want, and there's nothing wrong with these score streaks that I'm seeing. Alright, so getting into the gameplay, we're going to be doing this one just a little bit differently. I'm basically just going to be skipping through different clips throughout the gameplay so we can kind of cover everything that I want to cover. So right here in this first situation I want to look at, there's an enemy underneath you and he's shooting at that enemy there, he gets the kill on that enemy, and you kind of scramble, you know exactly where this enemy is, and you also know exactly which way this enemy's looking because he was shooting at that enemy. You know he's looking at that doorway. Instead of trying to go for the flank or trying to find a way to put cover between you and that enemy before challenging so you have the advantage, you just went straight tunnel vision towards him, you jumped down there, and you tried to challenge him head on, knowing that he should most likely have his sights up and ready to go exactly where you appeared. You had almost no chance of winning that gunfight. You really would have needed a lucky one burst kill to be able to get that kill against him. This next situation is something that I see a lot from people, not just in free-for-all, but other game modes as well, but you have to be extra careful in free-for-all because you don't have sort of safety nets of teammates where you know that you have map control. In free-for-all, enemies can come from any direction. And just pay attention to where you're standing right now. You're standing completely stationary while shooting this enemy, and you're an easy target for anyone else on the map. Think about how many directions the enemies could possibly get to you in this particular situation. You didn't check at all to the right-hand side. That's a very popular area for people to come through, the right-hand side there. There could be a guy up above you that was basically standing on the rooftop of that building you just came out of. There could be a guy that comes from your left. There could be a guy that comes on the catwalk. There are just so many different directions that you could be killed from in this particular situation. And this is something that's easily avoided. You would have been much better off staying back inside the building and cutting off most of those lines of sight. Instead, you pushed out into the open, and it was a very bad move, even though it didn't get you killed. This next situation actually shows a great example of you being aware of the lines of sight to you and actually using cover effectively to cut off those lines of sight. After you get that kill, you go inside this little tunnel area. I don't know if you call it a tunnel, but you go inside here, and this is essentially cutting off a lot of those longer lines of sight from several different directions. And you use this to sort of take cover, and then you pop back out, have a look, then you pop back in, take cover. And it's not the greatest cover around, but at least it's something. And another thing that I wanted to point out, because I don't usually get to point this out because you don't usually see IMR gameplay, is your reload cancel. You do this throughout the entire gameplay and it's great. So just in case you guys aren't aware, I know some of you guys will be, you can cancel the reload on an IMR very, very quickly. So you can actually reload the IMR almost instantly, which is one of its really big strengths. As soon as you see the bullets appear in the bottom right, you can sprint forward or dash or do anything to cancel that animation, and your gun will be reloaded. And those bullets actually appear there quite quickly. So if you are using the IMR, make sure you're using this technique. It works great. So one thing I wanted to point out in this clip, you're using cover effectively. You are backed off into that building like you didn't do that first clip that I showed you there. So that's great. You're doing a lot of things right here. But one thing that I'm noticing is you're kind of spraying like crazy with the IMR. And the IMR is something that I find works best when you take that little bit of extra time to line that shot up and make sure you're on target when you fire. It's not a gun that you can just spray and spray and spray and hope for a kill. You want to make sure you're pretty well on target before you start shooting. And there was a lot of situations there where you were just spraying like a madman, missing everything. The next thing I wanted to point out is just something that I see you do, and this is something that I'm guilty of all the time as well, especially when I play free-for-all. And that is lingering just a little bit too long in certain situations. This happens several times throughout the gameplay, and it's basically you get a kill, you get 2 kills in one spot, and you just stay there. You keep staying in that one spot. And a lot of times it's not even a really great spot that's easily defensible, like your back is completely exposed, or there's too many different lines of sight that could potentially kill you. It might be a good spot to find traffic in, but you don't want to linger in those spots for too long. It's great to go to those spots, pick off a couple kills, and then move on. It's not a great idea to just hang out there though. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover with this gameplay. Some of the things that I really liked about the gameplay was your ability to handle 1v1 situations most of the time. Of course, there were a few mistakes where you kind of got some tunnel vision or something like that, but for the most part, you're able to turn on enemies very quickly. You're able to put cover between you and your enemies. You're able to win those face-to-face gunfights a lot of the time, and that's great. So he was actually able to come back and win this game, which is pretty impressive considering he was pretty far behind for a little while there, but he just managed to push through and he ended up coming out on top in this game. If you guys have a gameplay that you'd like me to analyze for a future episode of this series, all you have to do is send a link to an unlisted video to the email address in the description below. Keep in mind I'm looking for at least 720p quality, and also I'm looking typically for non-exceptional gameplays. I don't want to see DNA bombs or anything like that because those are a lot more difficult to analyze than non-exceptional gameplays. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.